Hello and welcome to the Daily Life Uncut. So, today St. Patrick's Day is celebrated every 17th of March. And today I want to discuss a few fun facts and a few interesting snippets about St. Patrick's Day as, not only an adopted holiday here in America as well as a renowned holiday throughout, So, we're going to go ahead and start off with the one thing that everybody seems to do almost nonchalantly, almost to the point to where it's not even really a thing. And that's wear green. A lot of people speculate that, green is supposed to be, this magic color that was originally, worn by like St. Patrick. That information itself is false. The wearing of the green actually started in the late 1700s. The original color that was worn by St. Patrick, or that was symbolized with his day, or something that, is symbolized with him, should I say, was the color blue. So technically, we should be wearing blue on St. Patrick's, not green. But going into modern times, the reason why they adopted the green colors because they say that you blend in with leprechauns and they don't see green, they don't attack you, so it's almost like an invisibility cloak towards them. So it's kind of nice to kind of be, shielded for a day, even though they only attack once a year, I guess. I know old wives' tales was like once about if you don't wear green, leprechauns will attack you in your sleep. I heard that somewhere once, and I can't remember exactly where, but it always, made sure I wore green of some sort on this day. Another interesting fact is that when, not many people know the origin of St. Patrick's Day or why it is his day. Well, tragedy spoke, so to speak, is we celebrate this day because it's the day that St. Patrick actually died. It's a day that kind of celebrates his life, which is a really nice gesture. For the things that, he's done and stuff like that. That it's also funny that we have adopted Guinness as the national drink for the day, I guess, so to speak. It's funny that approximately 13 million pints of Guinness will be consumed worldwide on St. Patrick's Day. According to Wallet Hub, which released a St. Patrick's Day by numbers, reported. Now, Guinness is a widely popular drink. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, according to Bar Rescue, they say that Guinness is the most wanted beer in the whole United States, which is a very interesting fact if you ask myself, if you ask me. Another thing interesting about St. Patrick's Day is, let's see, the first actual St. Patrick's Day celebration. Now that is very interesting. You would all think that probably, it originated in Ireland or something like that. Which, in fact, the first St. Patrick's Day celebration took place in America. It actually took place more specifically in Boston, Massachusetts in 1737. Now, fast forward a few years, and the first actual parade was in New York City. Just a little extra snippet towards that. Now, a couple other things that are really interesting that, let's see, that St. Patrick's Day rakes in a lot of green, which is ironic because, a lot of people wear green on this day. But the average amount an American spends on St. Patrick's Day will be $36.52 per person. Now, that totals a combined $4.6 billion of revenue of different types of things for all businesses, probably mostly bars, because a lot of people go out to bars on St. Patrick's Day and think that they got to get drunk, which doesn't really make sense. Anyway, so also, according to folklore, there are actually no female leprechauns. Yes, I said that right. According to folklore, there's no female leprechauns, because Irish folk tales are to believe that the mystical beings are expressively male. Alright, going on. And last but not least, I would like to say this is the most interesting one that is funny and kind of sad at the same time. When you look outside after a rainy day or a rainy moment during the day, sometimes you'll see a rainbow. Now, we all know that rainbows are reflections of light that bounce off of a surface in order to be reflected into the clouds. So it actually shows the spectrum of the things that you normally don't see in the sky. So, with that said, that they always say, according to Irish folklore again, that there's always a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. But in fact, you actually can't get to the end of a rainbow. But, just for the sake of argument, you went to the end of the rainbow. You got that pot of gold. If by chance one did happen to find a mystical pot at the end of a rainbow this St. Patrick's Day, and it contained 1,000 gold coins, weighing 1 ounce each, it is estimated the total current worth would be at $1.26 million. Now, that don't seem a lot, for it seems a lot for any normal person here, but if you really estimate that, the amount of time, the amount of luck in order to obtain something like that just one person would simply blow through it because they think that they have luck. So in all, it's not really a great thing to only have that little amount. You would think there'd be riches beyond your wildest imaginations that would be contained in that pot of gold. But in truth, it's really chump change for somebody to luckily lose in probably a gambling situation. Yeah. Anyway, so those are a couple of fun facts and a couple interesting things about St. Patrick's Day, and I thought that we would go ahead and, present to everybody here. So if you liked this video, let me know down in the comments below. If you want, you can like, share, subscribe, of course. And if you feel that any of these are suggestive, or you feel that any of these need to be corrected in some way because you might think that you have a better answer, you can always talk to me about it on Twitter, at TheDailyLifeUncut, or you can fight about it in the comments. Up to you. Other than that, I will go ahead and end today's video, as this is the Daily Life Uncut, and as always, today and always, my journey.